And we are back. Welcome back to the Europa series that we do on this channel every European week on a Thursday, where we go through all the predictions for the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. A brief shout out to Ghent last night, who in their Europa Conference game won 4-1 away at Istanbul Başakşehir, which see them as the first team progressing through to the quarterfinals in either of the Europa competitions. A slight upset, I would say, in my opinion, especially with that sort of scoreline, but fair play to them for getting that done. Before we move on to today's predictions, a quick reminder, as always, for you to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Let's just get straight into it, because we have an awful lot of fixtures to cover today. And we will start with the early kickoffs in the Europa League, and we'll start with my club, Manchester United, who take a 3-goal lead to Seville tonight to take on Real Betis. The only real question tonight is what sort of team is Erik ten Hag going to put out now? You would think that he'd rest a fair few players, but considering the fact that at the weekend it is an FA Cup game and then it is the international break, I think we'll see a slightly stronger side than we might have possibly seen if it was a big Premier League game at the weekend, or like running into more Premier League games afterwards. So I think there'll be some changes tonight. I would still expect Manchester United to get the win. They're not really the best of sides, Real Betis. I know they're having a good season in La Liga, but if they play anywhere near like they did in the first leg, I would still expect any Manchester United side to get the win tonight. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to United, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Real Betis get a result on the night. I just don't see it being possible for Real Betis to actually progress through. On to Fenerbahce against Seville, and look, I don't really see this going any other way other than Sevilla taking the win. Fenerbahce are a good side, but they're not having the best of seasons overall. Sevilla obviously take the lead into the second leg from this one, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Sevilla in this. I don't really see Fenerbahce doing anything quite enough to get the job done for their respective tonight, so that is what I'm going for. On to Feyenoord against Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, obviously, last time I went for Shakhtar to get the win. It ended up being a draw, and with Feyenoord as the top team in the Eredivisie this season, really good home record, I don't see this being anything than a Feyenoord win tonight. I'm going to go for 3-0. I wish the best to Shakhtar Donetsk, as always, with all the stuff going on in their country, but tonight is not their night, in my opinion, and Feyenoord take the win. The final game of the early kickoffs sees Freiburg taking on Juventus. Juventus with a narrow lead after the first leg. And I'm going to actually go for a very similar scoreline. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Juventus again. Freiburg, as we kind of said last week, they're a good team, but they're not a great team. And Juventus, despite the fact they've had a 15-point deduction, would be second in Serie A if it wasn't for that deduction. So they're a team that are playing pretty well this season, and I would expect them to get the win. On to the evening games then, and we start with Ferencváros up against Bayer Leverkusen. In my opinion, Bayer Leverkusen, as we said last time out, far too good for Ferencváros, I think, over the course of the two legs. I expect Bayer Leverkusen to get the win tonight, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to them. On to the defensive teams then. We have Real Sociedad and Roma. Very tight game after the first leg, and I'm just going to go for a draw on this one. I really think it's a tough one to call. It really depends what sort of Real Sociedad side turn up. They really didn't turn up last week in the first leg, so look, they're more than capable of taking Roma to extra time if they perform to their absolute best, but I think Roma are playing pretty well at the moment, and as we spoke about last week, the returning players from injuries have made a big impact on their season, despite all the red cards that Jose Mourinho seems to be getting. I still think Roma will certainly have enough to at least get a draw away tonight in Sociedad, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw there. On to arguably the biggest game of the evening. It is Arsenal up against Sporting Lisbon. 2-2, as perfectly predicted by me last week in the first leg. We now have the game at the Emirates, and again, it all sort of comes down to priorities. Now, Arsenal obviously are the leaders in the Premier League, but they're going to want silverware this season as well, and this is their best chance of getting silverware, and it is an opportunity for them to put a stop to Manchester United's bids for winning multiple trophies this season if they can draw against them in the latter stages of this competition. I expect Arsenal to win tonight. Look, again, I said last week, Sporting Lisbon are a very good team. They played fantastically well last week, but Arsenal's home record speaks for itself this season, and I still think whatever team Arsenal put out tonight, they will get the job done. I'm going to go for 3-1 to the Gunners in that one, and that will see them into the quarterfinals. And finally, it is the clash of the unions once again. And probably the result of the first round, or the first legs, should I say, the 3-3 draw in this one. I went very heavy on Union Berlin to win this one, given the season that they are having. But they have stumbled in the last few weeks, as we spoke about last week. Not the best set of results in the Bundesliga recently. The 3-3 draw in the first leg. And now the Belgian side have the opportunity to capitalise. Of course, they did win the group, meaning that Union Berlin had to go in to the playoff rounds in the first place. However, I've already done it a few times this season in the European competitions. I'm going to double down on the team that I think is better. And with the greatest respect to Union Saint-Gilloise, I am going to go for a 3-2 win to Union Berlin, which will, of course, see them progress and be 6-5 on aggregate if that does happen. So, very interested to see what happens in that one. I just hope it's another really exciting game because the first leg was so good. And the best of luck to both teams, whichever one progresses. That is going to be it for the Europa League section of this video. You will notice that I haven't actually predicted a single game in the Europa League to go to extra time this evening. I just don't see it happening in any of these games. It very well could. But we are yet to see extra time, I don't think, in any of the games so far in European competition in terms of the Champions League last 16s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening in the Europa League. However, as we move over to our Europa Conference predictions, I show them to you all on screen there. I have gone for 2 games to end up going to extra time tonight, based off of the results you can see on your screen. The early kickoffs are the ones at the top, the later kickoffs are the ones at the bottom. I've gone for Sivasspor and Fiorentina to end up going to extra time, and as you see, they are glowing green because I have predicted Fiorentina to win the game in extra time and or penalties. Well, extra time or penalties, can't be and penalties. And I've also gone for Slovan Bratislava to win in extra time or penalties against FC Basel after they were able to get a 1-1 draw away in the first leg. Other predictions are, as you can see on there, I'm not going to do a full breakdown on all the other games. That is just what I think is going to happen in the Europa Conference for you this evening. Thank you very much for watching as always. Let me know down in the comments your predictions for tonight's game and your thoughts on everything Champions League related. Your thoughts on Serie A being the country, or the league should I say, Italy being the country with the most teams in the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time this century. A really big result for Italian football that. And of course, any other thoughts on any other football related matters that are going on right now. Thank you very much for watching once again. I will see you tonight for my post-match reaction to Real Betis Manchester United, and then we will have our usual Premier League predictions tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for watching.